Hello and welcome to the Progressive Pals podcast. I am Brently. I'm joined with by which well, whatever Benjamin as usual,
Hello.
and we have a special guest today. We have Shannon. How you doing?
Hi, I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Pretty good, hanging in there. So yeah, we want to talk because we had met on there's these new things that I want to say they're new, that are like audio only Twitter feed kind of things, and it's sort of like a podcast, except that you can respond sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and you were in there talking about activism, and specifically activism as it relates to women's rights. And yeah, so it was really cool. It was really refreshing to be able to just hear somebody kind of vent about these things. And you said an activist in women's rights. So, like, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I live in Florida. I'm just about south of Tampa, and I live in a county called Manatee County. And about a year ago, well, actually almost exactly a year ago, we had a county commissioner who is a pastor, and he was a brand new commissioner, and he decided one day to propose an abortion ban in Manatee County, similar to the Texas law. It was going to be a heartbeat law, and it was to call us a sanctuary county for the unborn.
Oh my
And
God.
if you're in Texas, I'm sure you've probably heard the term.
Ah,
Uh-oh.
what happened?
We seem to have lost Shannon.
Oh, damn it. Wonder what happened. Hopefully she can.
Maybe this crazy Manatee County commissioner has
It's
special internet powers.
yeah, he was watching and he was like, you know what? I don't like her talking about this from my county.
I gotta shut
And
this down.
let me message her real quick. Jeez.
We should just be dead silent until she comes back.
Make it easier to edit, that's for sure.
Certainly, and hopefully there's like a bunch of people watching this, and they're just gonna wait. I mean,
Just sitting.
just sit there waiting. Because I mean, I'm subscribed to the YouTube channel.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So the second we went live, it told me.
Oh, that's you waiting for.
Am I the one guy?
You're the one person that's always waiting. That's
Yeah.
it.
Except, of course, I never sign on because here I am, or I'm not here because I'm very busy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's true. Which is, happens when you have kids and a family and all that stuff.
Gross.
And other times, too, just in general, I'm just saying.
Right? Well, yeah, I never want to do that because I never want to be that guy to be like, I'm a parent, so I'm like so busy, and you just don't understand that as someone without children.
Right.
Like, you don't want to be that guy. I don't know what's going on in your life. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you have to deal with.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think just people just think that immediately if they like, or do you have kids? And then you're like, yeah. And they're like, oh, okay. Well, and then you're super busy and you got a lot of shit to do.
I mean,
But
obviously, it adds more things to your plate, but I can't sit here and pretend like I'm busier than someone else.
oh, right. Okay. Huh. Well, I mean, I guess if you don't know, but I guess you're right because it's like an assumed amount of things that you do. But I know some people that don't give a fuck about their kids, and so they just
Well, that's true.
they just you know um,
They're like, I have
don't
kids,
take care.
but I'm not busy. What?
Shit, what happened? That's so weird.
I mean, she was calling in from her car.
Right? Yeah, it was like her car phone, I guess.
There may have been some sort of signal loss, I'm assuming.
She went through a tunnel. Yep, I'll do it.
I mean, I could just regale everyone with my sweet Star Wars puns I was making on Facebook earlier today.
Yeah, okay, let's do this.
Okay,
Let's
let's talk about this.
Oh, wait.
Okay.
Oh, here she is. Okay, good.
Oh, wait, she's here, so I'm going to spare
I'm
you.
so sorry. So
No,
I've never
sorry.
had this happen before, but my phone, it turned off and it said my phone was too hot.
Oh my God.
So you're going to have to see me behind the steering wheel now because I'm going to just keep it next to the AC.
Next to the vent. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There you go.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's all
Is
right.
it
No
is it
problem.
101 degrees in Florida also?
It is 92.
Oh,
92.
okay. That's
Feels
cold.
like it's
Nice.
101.
That's
Yeah.
cold.
So you're going to get this shadow me now. So sorry.
So I'm sorry. So you were talking about in Manatee County, they were trying to do a sanctuary city.
Yeah.
for the
So like I
unborn.
said, your
Oh,
Texas listeners have probably heard the term sanctuary city for the unborn, because that is where this came from, the sanctuary county for the unborn. Anybody who's ever heard of Mark Lee Dixon, who was the facilitator to get the sanctuary city for the unborn passed in Lubbock, Texas, and then other cities around Texas. Basically, that happened there. And then within 4 months, Texas instituted pretty much a total ban on abortion. The heartbeat bill, which is wrongly named, but
yeah. No,
But also,
you need
then
a heart to
they
do that.
pretty much stole the sanctuary city term from the immigration cities.
It's right because
yeah,
everything's
that's true. You know what?
reactionary.
I hadn't even thought of that. All this time I've been doing this activism, I hadn't even considered that. I think we're just jumping on our rights are being violated, and yeah, you're right. The
Because they
sanctuary.
love doing that. They love co-opting stuff from us because we're like sanctuary cities for people, to not be deported, and they're like, oh, we're gonna steal that for babies because babies are more important than them dang immigrants.
Right.
Yeah. Plus, they know that it's like upsetting to them that we have sex, so they're trying to like do a reverse.
Yeah,
Like this will
we're
upset
gonna
them.
be extra
Yeah.
mad about it because they did that. Like, you stole our thing, you jerks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God, that's insane.
Yeah. It's just shitty all around. So I told you, yes. So that was proposed in Manatee County, and then Kate Danis, her name is Kate Danahy Samitz, and also Sarah Parker. Sarah is actually a resident of Sarasota, and Kate is a resident of Manatee County. She's actually my neighbor. We didn't know each other at the time, but they founded Women's Voices of Southwest Florida to counter this abortion proposal and abortion ban proposal. And by the way, Manatee County has no abortion clinics. There's no abortions performed in Manatee County. But that didn't matter. If they were able to, Mark Lee Dixon really went after James Thatcher is the name of the commissioner, to try to impose this because getting an entire county would be getting 5 cities instead of just 1 city at a time like they were doing.
Oh, right. Yeah,
So
and they do that a lot too, where they're like, I'm going to do this thing, and it's they don't, it's already done. There isn't any abortion clinics there. They're like, hey, man, we're going to get rid of it, and they're like, hey, we won. Look, we did the thing. See, there's no abortion clinics here now.
It's more like trying to get this declaration, like we will never have abortions in Manatee County, and it's just talk, but it pissed a lot of us off. And so basically we all found each other online and we formed this. We had our first protest last year on July 27th. And we've done all sorts of demonstrations. Since then, we've done some handmade demonstrations. We've also expanded our, even prior to Roe V Wade, we also were expanding our activism to be all around Florida, and also connecting with people around the United States, because obviously this was not an isolated incident. It's not like Manatee County, Florida was the only place that was trying to impose this. So we knew it was really important to act fast, and we knew it was really important to connect with everybody else who could possibly be affected by this kind of legislation. And when we saw how lightning fast it got passed in Texas, the abortion ban, we knew that we just had to come in quickly and loudly, and we made lots of waves. I mean, I'm kind of proud of it, but we haven't let up. So we also, and we feel that this is a very important part of activism. We also do care about our community. We care a lot about the children and families in our community who are marginalized and who need a lot of help. We have our foster care system is just out of control. So we do try to also do community activism in trying, we're like right now we're doing a school supplies drive to get enough backpacks for Sarasota and Manatee County kids who have trouble, getting school supplies. We've done a stocking drive for foster children in the St. Pete area and also Manatee County. We've also helped to fund abortions for people who are needing them. We've also we've done activism in Tallahassee and in Washington, D.C. So we grew really fast. It was, and I mean, because the majority of people are on our side here. And that's one thing I think people need to remember. Being in a red state, the majority of people do not want to see abortion banned. They know that it's dangerous. They know that it's not a good thing. They know that it's unhealthy. They know people will die from it. And so, we'd rather try to oppose that and then put our efforts toward funding things that will help families. And we don't ever want anybody to feel like they have to go and get an abortion either. So we want to be able to take away the issues that lead to people opting to have an abortion that maybe they wouldn't have if they had the right resources, like healthcare, mental health care, childcare, affordable housing. These are all things that are seriously lacking, not just in Manatee County, but they are really bad in Manatee County right now, but also just around the United States. So, we feel like we can reduce the abortion rate using evidence-based methods without taking away people's choices.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing too. It's like a lot of this is, like you said, like it's evidence based. This is like, we know this because this has happened before. We've had it banned. We've seen what happens when it's banned. And what happens is women die and, they also get locked up for bullshit, like for murder or whatever,
Well,
Yeah.
there's pro-lifers in Texas trying to push the death penalty for abortions.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That's hypocritical, isn't it?
Yeah, just a little bit.
Like it's a completely like how do you make that leap in your brain?
Right. Yeah.
But it's good that you're actually providing real resources because there's these things around the country. I know they exist in Texas. There are these essentially fake health clinics.
Yeah.
For women that are pregnant, and all it is an adoption agency, and they end up making bank off of adopting these babies out.
Yeah. So fake clinics, they work with adoption agencies. They aren't the adoption agencies themselves, but they work with the adoption agencies that, yes, profit big time off of adoptions. So they have a vested interest in making sure people who don't want babies stay pregnant.
Right. Yeah.
Whether it's harmful to their health or not.
Yep.
And let's be honest, they don't care. There are a very, very, very tiny amount of people who I've met who are pro-life in the sense that they oppose abortion, but then they also do try to work toward preventing abortion, preventing abortion without taking away choice, even though they technically want to take away choice, but they try to prevent, they try to improve life. There are a couple of them, but not very many. The vast majority of them vote for every possible policy that is just harmful toward families, harmful toward children. They vote against sex education. They vote against birth control. They vote against mental health care. They vote against physical health care. And you see that, and it's really hard not to look at those people and say, well, you're clearly disingenuous when you say that your whole argument is pro-life, when you don't care about the fact that once that person gives birth, then they're just on their own, and that baby is on their own. it's not, it's hard to take them seriously.
Right. Yeah, it's like when it's like they say they care about the fetuses, because as soon as they're born, they don't give a fuck anymore. Like, all right, cool, I got. I almost wondered, like, like, do you think a lot of times it's to like also to spread their religion and stuff? Because it seems like a lot of these places, that do those types of clinics, they're very religious based, right?
Yeah,
And
they are. They won't always come straight out and say they are. Or actually, usually they won't come out and say they are. A lot of times, see, they operate under a 501c3, so it's technically illegal for them to be political, or to bring their religion into it. But that doesn't stop them from doing it. There's in Manatee County, there is CareNet. CareNet is, I wouldn't fully classify it as a fake clinic, because they don't actually call themselves a women's health clinic. There are places that do call themselves clinics when they're really not, but they do provide a pregnancy test, and they can provide pregnancy tests to people who are seeking Medicaid. So they would operate under the 501c3. They can provide a pregnancy test. I believe now they provide ultrasounds. I don't know if they always did. But they say that they're for everybody. They say you don't have to be any part of religion. But they have a point system. It's like an education. You agree to do certain education, and then you can earn stuff for your new baby, such as necessities, clothes, cribs, diapers, that kind of stuff. And so, they might have some parenting classes. Okay, that's fine. But they also give you points for attending church.
Mhm.
So how is that not pushing their religion?
Yeah, I mean
Right.
that's basically the Mormon model for charity. Like, you get charity, but you have to go and work and do things. And you have to show up to church. You have to do all these things. Like, well, yeah, we'll help you, but you got to work for it.
Yeah.
Right. But I think, like, doesn't it seem like what they want is to kind of force everybody to give birth, right? And then the other thing they're stopping, they don't want gay folks to adopt them, but they want these Christian families to adopt them, so they can keep like perpetuating their religion and the religious right and politically and all that.
Yeah, and then that's where you see the adoption agencies that are religious based. And then you see there are actually public ones that are getting public funding, and because they're affiliated with the church, they're allowed in some states to deny gay couples from adopting babies. I mean, it's all about pushing their religion, trying to give, honestly, rich white Christian people the little babies they want, when there's already over 400,000 foster care children in the United States who are waiting for homes right now.
Yeah, Texas alone has like 10% of that.
Wow.
I believe it. Yeah, Florida's huge too. I honestly don't know the exact percentage, but Florida's got a lot too. What people are wanting are cute little brand new babies who they don't think have problems, which actually is incorrect, because all adoption is traumatic. Even at birth, taking a fetus away from, or a brand new baby away from their mom, is going to cause them trauma. They think that they're going to get this perfect little baby, like, that they can just dote on, and they're not really interested in actual kids who are already waiting for parents.
It doesn't even
who
make
are going
sense,
to age out of the system and not even have a family.
Babies are work.
Babies are a lot of work. I'm a mom of 3.
So you get it. Yeah.
Yeah. My youngest baby just turned 6 today. Yeah. Babies are a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, I messed up, and like, my youngest is 6 and my oldest is 19. So I like restarted my freedom clock. So
yeah, I did that. My oldest is 23 and my baby
you get it.
is 6. Yeah. Also, by the way, really fast, just because I do want to tell the name of my organization, I think I forgot to say that. It's Women's Voices of Southwest Florida. So if anybody ever wants to look into what kind of work we do, we're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. So just throwing it out there.
Just put that in as the the search bar. Just
Excellent. Yeah, I know.
All right,
I put the names of the founders, but forgot to mention I think I forgot to mention the organization. So
no, you did already once. You kind of
I did. Okay, I didn't remember. I'm like, I started talking about what we did, and then my phone died, and yeah.
Threw us all off. It's all right. So I'm wondering too. Like a lot of these conversations are going on online, right? And there's a lot of these debates and stuff, on Twitter and whatnot, right? And I'm just curious as to like what you think are the better arguments versus what you would think the worst arguments are for pro-choice, pro-choice arguments.
That's a really good question, because an ineffective argument isn't really going to change anybody's minds. It's not going to go anywhere. So personally, I think the strongest argument for pro-choice. This is actually the one that really, I'd say that I was never fully against abortion, but I was a Christian and I had an issue with, what I was told was partial birth abortion. And now it's more accurately called late-term abortion. It's not a partial birth abortion. But it was the argument that no human has the right to use another human's body without their consent, period. So even when, you're entertaining, is it a life? Is it not a life? Is it a baby? Is it not a baby? What really turned me was going, I tell people, I'm like, call it whatever you want. I mean, I'm going to call it by the accurate medical term. It's a fetus. Parasite. It's an embryo. It's a fetus. But if you want to call it a baby, go ahead and call it a baby. It still doesn't have the right to be in my body without my consent.
It also is defined as a parasite if you look it up. Like the thing leeches off of you.
I hear that argument a lot.
That's the brutalist argument. Like it's like parasite must.
Yeah, it's kind of rough.
I do hear that argument a lot. I do understand where people are coming from with that, and sometimes I entertain it. Like I think even today on Twitter I was like, I love my little parasites, but
when they're not parasites anymore.
It's all about consent,
But so my thing is with this whole thing, so like you were saying, like you can't force someone to support another life. I don't think anyone would agree that we should all be forced to donate a kidney to save someone's life.
Exactly. Oh, but what if somebody says, well, it's not like it's a kidney. You didn't cause that person to need that kidney. But what if you did? What if you got into a car accident and somebody, and say, the car accident caused them to lose their only functioning kidney? In that case, should we be allowed to force the person who caused the car accident to donate their kidney? And legally, the answer is no.
Yeah,
it's not. So it doesn't matter if it was your choice or not. It's still your body. Your body autonomy doesn't end for anybody for any reason. I mean, when my children were born, if they would have needed a blood transfusion immediately after they were born, I couldn't be forced to give it to them because it's my blood, it's my body. Now, you can have your personal opinions about what you think somebody should do. That's fine. You can think, well, gee, what kind of a mom wouldn't give their blood to their baby? And you can personally feel that that's wrong. That's fine. But that doesn't mean that they're legally obligated to give up their bodily autonomy for another person.
That's right. I don't understand how I feel like their whole thing like fails on all fronts. Because it's not only can you not have someone else use your body without your consent, it's not a fucking baby, man. Like this is an equivocation like crazy, it's just emotional reaction words, that they're using. But I mean, they're saying like a bloody snot is like a human that should have more rights than the human that's housing them.
That's the crux right there. more rights. Because if you're banning abortion, if you're saying that fetus cannot be expelled by you until labor, you are saying that fetus has more rights than the person carrying them. And that is anti-American. That's anti-freedom. That is, you cannot elevate one person. Again, like legally, there's nothing that says that a fetus is a person, although there are states and there are legislators trying to declare fetuses as persons. But there's even if they are a person, then what you're saying is that person's rights trump the rights of the person who's carrying them. And again, I don't see how that can legally stand, not with our Constitution, not with our rights. I don't see how that can stand. So that's really my favorite, I guess, go-to argument with pro-choice, because at that point, I won't entertain arguments anymore about whether it's a life or not, because I don't care. Honestly, I don't care.
That's like almost arguing
Okay.
like, well, when is a kid an adult? You know what I mean? Like, it's an arbitrary line that we can just put anywhere, you know?
Right. I mean, you can go and you can look at science. You can look at the 7 characteristics of life according to science. And then really, honestly, most of the time a fetus doesn't fall under life, under those considerations, but I don't really care. Okay, call it a life. Call it a life. That's fine. It doesn't have the right to my body. Its life is not more important than my life.
And not just your body. Okay, so a life is a life, right? There's a homeless man. It is 100 degrees outside. He'll probably die. It's going to be under 5 degrees. There's a homeless man outside. He's going to freeze to death. You now have to let him into your house because the life matters more than your rights.
I didn't even think of that one. That's a good one. Thanks, Benjamin. I'm going to use that now, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's
a good way of putting it, because now that person's life matters more than your rights. And how many of you are willing to let all the homeless people into your home?
Right, or even into your garage with the space heater. They're not going to do it because it's their property.
Right.
And we're all about our property.
That's not their body. That's their property. That's that's a thing.
You won't let me violate your property for another human's rights? Then how dare you?
Why have I never used that argument? That is a good one. I like that.
It's interesting too, because like, weren't they all just freaking out about like my body, my choice when it came to like vaccines just like a couple months ago? And that could kill other actual people that do breathe air out of the air. Like,
Yes. And there are people on my side in my organization, more than you'd think, that are 100% opposed to vaccine mandates too, because they think it's the same thing. They're like, my body, my choice, my body, my choice, my body, my choice. And I feel like it's a little more nuanced than that, but I see it. Sure. I can understand it. And so for them to just assume that everybody who's pro-choice is completely pro-vaccine mandate is just that. It's just an assumption. It's not entirely true. I am a registered nurse and I do promote the vaccine. Just saying, it's not me. I'm not saying that you don't need the vaccine. I do think you do. Please get vaccinated. But I mean, I can sit and entertain a discussion about that because it's nuanced. Yeah. But yeah, my body, my choice when it's a little tiny shot, but when it's a 9-month ordeal that threatens somebody's life, that doesn't matter. Another thing I think about, this is another thing that I think about. Like you guys, like I just told you, I'm a mom of 3. One of them is an adult. My other 2 are very young children, 6 and 7. They need me. I mean, I'm their mother and they need me. So if I were to get pregnant tomorrow and my life is threatened from that pregnancy, and it does happen, it happens a lot more than people think it does.
Especially in this country.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And especially to Black women more than white women. But, and Black pregnant people, white pregnant people, it's not only women who can get pregnant, but,
right.
they need me. So you're basically saying that this growing organism inside of me trumps my right to life, and then also trumps the right to my family to have me in their life. And that, I mean, it's nonsensical to me.
Yeah.
Make it make sense. I don't get it.
It's the same argument. If rich guy has 17 cars and someone needs a car, shouldn't he be giving him the car?
He needs to
Right?
give them the car, yeah, because they
Right?
can't get to their job
Someone else
because he's
needs
got too
it.
many cars and they don't have enough.
Right.
Jesus. So I mean, but I say, and we were talking earlier. You were saying, and you taught me this because I didn't know that it's in the Florida Constitution.
Yeah.
And we got fucking DeSantis, who's a psycho. But I was like, oh, this is going to happen tomorrow, or they're just going to repeal it. But I didn't realize that it was in the Constitution.
Yes. And that is why the 15-week abortion ban that was supposed to go into effect on July 3rd or July 1st was struck down on June 30th. I was actually in Tallahassee when they debated that on the floor of the House, and was obviously very disappointed that it was passed. But I kept saying, well, what about, because I'm not a lawyer, I was like, what about Article 1, Section 23? Article 1, Section 23. So Article 1, Section 23 of the Florida Constitution says every natural person has the right to be let alone and free from government intrusion into the person's private life. So that is written into the Florida Constitution, and that is why the 15-week abortion ban is unconstitutional. So DeSantis disagrees with that, of course, because he's a wannabe dictator. Did you see what I sent you earlier, Brently, before the podcast?
Yes, I did.
So he's trying to say that they've misinterpreted that, and that never was the intention of that, never had to do with abortion. So it's going to be fought in the courts, and I really hope that we will prevail on that. Obviously, I really don't know. I don't fully trust our courts. I feel like our entire government's been compromised by extremism. Here in Florida, at least, not every state, but in Florida. So we're going to have to see how that plays out. But as of right now, that has saved us.
Right. Okay. So this is temporary. So if it gets up to the Supreme Court, right? Isn't that how that works? Okay.
It'll probably end up in I don't know the full, exactly which court it goes to from here in Florida. I don't know the entire Florida court system, but I anticipate that it's probably going to go up to the Florida Supreme Court. So,
But I have no idea how the Florida Supreme Court is. Are they mostly conservative, you think?
I'm not sure, and I'm not sure if them being conservative will be enough to them, or for them to basically scrap this part of the Constitution, because I think that that's pretty clear. I mean, what could be more a part of my private life than me becoming pregnant?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. That is an excellent point. I mean, that's an excellent argument there, because they're trying to act like they're basing all of this off of law and they're unbiased and everything like that. But a lot of times you can see just right there, states' rights rule, right? Which would be a states' rights constitution, or a state's constitution. Yeah. And he's like saying, no, never mind. Not
that part.
But you're in Florida. So if they make abortion a crime, your right to be private once you've committed said crime is gone.
Wait, say that again?
So, yes, Florida is, right? We know why the whole Florida man thing happens, because Florida is an open state once you've committed a crime.
Oh, the sunshine. Okay, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, if you make abortion a crime, then therefore, if you do it, now it's not become private any longer. It's now a public information.
That's true.
And they'll probably argue that side of it.
Right. And so that's why we've got organizations like the ACLU who are legal experts, unlike me, who are doing their damnedest to fight against this law based on that article.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
And because you bring up another point though, and this goes for not only statewide in Florida or states, but also federally. Some states do not allow felons to vote. So if they make abortion a felony, then it's a really good way of being able to erode the 19th Amendment.
Yep.
So you get enough women who commit abortions and are now felons for it, and now they can't vote.
And now
I mean,
they
that's
can't
the whole
vote.
point of it anyway,
Jesus.
right? The whole point of wanting, like, when you look at the powers that be, they want to get rid of abortions because it keeps the masses down. When they're pregnant and they're pumping out babies and they've got to worry about babies, they're not fighting against things. They're not making their lives better. And it's an inherently racist move. I mean, people have been dealing with this, especially Black people in this country, for quite some time. They were essentially used in eugenics. Like, they're like, well, we just making more slave babies. Do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, and that's where we've drawn, like, my organization, when we've done some handmaids demonstrations, we've drawn some criticism, rightly so, for people who maybe don't know, who are invoking Handmaid's Tale without understanding the history behind it. That in the United States, Black and brown women, people with uteruses, have historically been forced to breed, have been forced to be sterilized. They've had their bodily integrity violated pretty much since the beginning of the United States. So to them, they rightly point out that this is nothing new. And that's something that does need to be discussed. That's something that people do need to understand. This is not all of a sudden, women are having their rights revoked. This is a country where women have always had their rights revoked, particularly marginalized Black and brown women.
And those are specifically like who's not getting adopted by all these Christian parents too, that,
Not often. Yeah, not as often. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, there was that craze for a while where those rich white families were adopting the African babies.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing. They weren't even adopted them from here. They were going overseas because it's usually people that are pretty well off. Yeah,
they want babies. Yeah, they want babies. I can tell you right now, because my husband and I, we did decide not to adopt from foster care right now, currently, just because of some other personal issues. But we went through the whole certification process of being able to adopt kids from foster care. There are kids who are adoptable right now. Like, the parental rights have been terminated and they're just in a foster home waiting for somebody to adopt them. And in Florida, I don't know about all the states, but in Florida, you can do that for pretty much almost free. You can go through the process. It was like an 8-week certification process. You have to get a home study where they come in and they see your home, make sure that it's safe. And you have to there are court fees, but I think those are reimbursable. You can get a stipend every month for that adopted child. And that adopted child is, they are able to, they're approved for Medicare or Medicaid, till they're 18. And they get a stipend. They can use, I think it's free college in Florida. So there's actually, you can do all of that for free, and you're going to get help from the state, but people still don't want to go and adopt foster children. They want babies, and they want to pay tens of thousands of dollars to have their babies. It's just, I think this mentality that pregnant women exist to give rich people babies, I don't think that they'll say it out loud, but I think it's definitely present. Just adopt. That takes away the entire issue of the pregnancy itself and what it does to somebody's body, what it does to somebody's life, what it does to somebody's livelihood.
What was the quote from, what was it, one of the justices about the domestic supply of adoptable infants?
Yeah, I guess that was in something that Amy Coney Barrett had written prior, and I believe it was Alito mentioned it in the documentation in the decision.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, that's pretty much what it was the United States, the domestic supply of babies in the United States is lowered. And so she didn't come straight out and say that this is why we need to revoke Roe v. Wade, but it's hard not to draw that conclusion.
Right.
Like, I think it's a reasonable conclusion.
Yeah, it seems pretty on the fucking nose right there. So what that wording, you know? Jeez Louise.
Yeah, and then that's showing also that you're looking at babies as humans, as objects.
Right.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's sick.
It's the ultimate accessory. Baby.
baby, cute little babies. Everybody wants a baby, and it's
Baby
just
is,
yeah. So it's just,
especially if you have a nanny. Like, whew.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah, then they're just cute. That's like literally all they are. It's cute.
Like, is the baby
Yeah.
not crying and recently had a diaper change? Oh, yes. Okay,
Oh,
bring
good,
it
I'll
to
take 'em.
me.
Mhm.
I'm showing off to my friends. Oh, look at my cute little. Look how cute it is. It's crying. Take it.
So
I
what
don't
do
get
you?
me wrong. My heart goes out to people who have had infertility problems. I
yeah.
consider myself very fortunate because I'm somebody who did want to be a mom. I've always wanted to be a mom. I'm so glad I'm a mom. And it's got to be really, really hard to deal with infertility. But that just doesn't mean that because you were dealt with difficult cards that it's somebody else's responsibility to then provide you a baby. It's just not. It's sad. I feel bad, but it doesn't make anybody else responsible for making sure you can get your baby.
Right. Yeah, it's a good point. There's a comment here I'm gonna pull up real quick. So bodily autonomy and privacy are the issues, but I'm an old white guy. Better I remain a supportive ally than risk over talking the people it actually affects. That's
Well,
yeah,
thank you
thanks.
for getting it, Titan. I appreciate it.
That's great. So okay, so for like your average person, like what are the like you mentioned a couple of programs that you're working with. Now I'm sure there's a lot of people in other states. Are there anything uh like countrywide that we can donate to like help that will get the money to these women that like need to have abortions or people that need these abortions?
Okay, so countrywide, yes. Well, you could go to the National Abortion Funds website. Just if you just Google National Abortion Funds, you can find your local abortion funds. So, like, for me, I donate to Tampa Bay Abortion Access, and that can be really helpful. If you are in a state where abortion is readily accessible and fairly affordable, you can donate to the National Abortion Funds themselves. You can find a place where abortions are less available and donate to that local abortion access fund. Elevated Access is an Illinois-based charity that flies abortion patients to places where they can safely get abortions. So they are a good organization to donate to. Other things that you can do is, well, huge, big. I know everybody says it, it sounds cliche, but seriously, vote.
Right.
And vote.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big deal. We need to keep the Democrat majority in the House of Representatives this year, and we need to gain Senate seats.
Yeah.
So vote. Don't be apathetic. Don't be, if that candidate, there's going to be no perfect candidate. There's not going to be a perfect candidate out there. There's just not. There's definitely a lot of problems with a lot of the Democratic candidates. I understand. I agree. We need to push for more progressive candidates. However, you need to, if you sit it out because the candidate that you want is not progressive enough, that's not effective. It's not helpful. Vote for that candidate and then hold their feet to the fire and hold them accountable to their campaign promises. Go to your local. Also, as I learned last year, I just learned last year how important it is to know my local county politics and the people who are running my county, because they have an effect on what can happen statewide. So go to your city council meetings, go to your county commissioner meetings. If you're ever able to, go to your state capitol, go get connected with other activists. There's always something you can do. You can call your representatives every single day. You can call, you can write, you can call them out on social media, call them out publicly. So it's just don't not vote, please, please, please,
Right.
please. Okay,
you
so I'm
could
gonna
do this because no, I have getting this conversation a lot on Twitter actually, and I'm super progressive. Like, and I'm fine with being critical of the left or the Democrats. Really, is what I should say.
Me
But you
too.
got to vote too. You know what I mean? Like we should be able to do this and that. If you're like holding your vote away, you can tell them that you're not going to vote for them unless they do the thing. Like, you know, but at the end of the day, it's either this, you know, the hold our own people accountable and try to get them as far left as possible. Otherwise, we're going to be having fascists take over if we don't vote. You know what I mean?
I mean, we go back to the 2016 election and we can see what apathy in voting has led to. And so it's really, really important that we do that. And yes, I know Florida, Texas, a lot of other states, we've got issues. We've got gerrymandering, we've got voter suppression, and it can make it feel like what's the point? What's the point? I mean, like my voice isn't going to matter. But the 2020 governor election, or sorry, no, it was when was they're up for a governor this year? So I'm trying to do my math here. Was it 2018? Florida, DeSantis?
Oh, shoot, when was that?
I feel really dumb right now
was
because I found
I
it.
know, right? I'm drawing a blank. Wow.
Okay. Well, anyways, that
Somewhere around that time.
election was DeSantis won that by 32,000 votes. That's not a lot considering that we have 20 million voters in Florida.
Right.
So,
and a bunch of
or 20
Democrats
million
that didn't
people.
vote.
And it was 2018.
Thank
It was?
you.
Oh, good.
Sorry, my brain just there. But so you can see that there are elections where it's come down to being very, 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 very close. So, and that's how DeSantis won. And I think Roe v. Wade being overturned did, even though I saw it coming from miles away, I think it did shock people. I think maybe they really just didn't expect it to happen. So, and I know enough moderate Republicans who are pissed off about it too. So, and just the prospect of other rights now being on the table. I mean, we're looking at contraception, we're looking at same-sex marriage, we're looking at trans rights, who they're already marginalized as it is. They already don't have a seat at the table of full equality. And the rights that they have been granted are threatened to be taken away. So we really need to look at this and make a point to vote, to educate ourselves, to educate other people, to encourage other people to vote. So that's something you can do. You can also do, I think everybody can do some form of activism. You might not be able to devote hours every day to it like I do, and that's totally understandable. My kids are a little bit older now. A few years ago, there was no way I could do this. Everybody has their situations, and you can't live your entire life just doing activism, but you can volunteer to write some postcards for a local candidate. You can make a phone call to your representative. You can volunteer to do some text banking. I've done that. That takes like minutes. I think I did it. It was like maybe I did like a half an hour of that per week. And that's just simple. Text banking. I was text banking for the 2020 election. And actually it was for voters outside of my state. It was for North Carolina and Georgia voters.
What is text banking? I've never heard of that before.
It's like phone. I mean, there's phone banking, which is calling. And, if you're a little bit shy on the phone, which I kind of am, text banking is similar. When, if you're a registered voter, you've probably gotten text messages from different organizations and what we were doing was, I was volunteering with Supermajority, and that was just trying to help people who didn't know their laws and the rules and how to vote, trying to help guide them to do that. And a lot of people really don't. And in Florida, the laws have changed since the last election. It's harder to vote by mail now. The last date that you can request to vote by mail is August 13th for this primary, just FYI for those of us in Florida. I don't know about the other states, but so that one was a really good one because I wasn't pushing any candidate. I wasn't pushing any issue. It was just, hey, have you voted? Do you need some help voting? Do you need to know where your local precinct is? And it was easy to look it up and figure it. I mean, there was like a whole slew of ways to be able to help that voter if they needed it. And there were people who were like, thank you. I didn't realize that, or I didn't know where my location was. So just being able to help educate people on how to vote is integral.
That is huge. I mean, that's honestly I like, how you put it like that, just like helping people get there, because that's what they're going after right now. They're trying to get, I really hope that he kind of fucked himself with that whole thing with like taking, because, there's a lot of these like, we're a retirement state, right? And they, older folks tend to do things the way they've always done them. And I'm pretty sure it's mostly by mail. And now you're changing all the rules to it. They're all going to be like, what the fuck, man?
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's people who live in like retirement communities here, assisted living communities where they can't just get up and easily go out to the polls, and they vote by mail. So hopefully I am hoping that some of the things he's done has rallied enough people to say, oh no, this is extreme. This is too much. Like I said, even moderates that I know are like, no, this isn't okay.
Yeah, I know people in my family are like that. They're like, he seems crazy. Like, he did like what it was like, so that you can't sue somebody if or the person can't sue you if you hit them with your car as long as they're protesting.
That was HB1, I believe, and that was also struck down by the courts.
Oh, okay, good. I'm glad.
That's something good for me to know, seeing as I do a lot of protests. So
right, okay. That's awesome. I didn't know. I honestly thought it went through because I'm just assuming
it went through and then it was struck down.
Oh, okay, good. No, it's awesome. All right, great.
Yeah, they're basically like, you can just go out and just rail protesters because they're annoying you. The whole point of the First Amendment is that you're allowed to annoy people. You're allowed to do things that upset and offend people, and that includes make them uncomfortable, annoy them, inconvenience them.
Yeah, it's funny too, because just talking about that, like they, how just a bit ago it's like Trump basically made the law. He was like, I'm going to make it like so, it's like a minimum so many years of anybody that defaces federal property, right? And because he was responding to Black Lives Matter, and then all of his little fuckheads go and destroy a bunch of federal property, and they're all like, why are we getting treated so much worse than? And it's like, because he's made the law targeting them, but you guys did it, you dumb fucks.
Exactly.
Oh,
yeah, there's a certain poetic justice to that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. Some Schadenfreude there, to be honest. Because it's like I think it was like a 5-year minimum or something like that. And they're like, why are they still? I was talking to some guys. Why are they still locked up? I'm like, because Trump made the law targeting Black Lives Matter.
That's a whole nother world mandatory minimum sentencing that we could talk forever about. But
garbage. Our whole justice system is an embarrassment, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't even call it a justice system. We don't have a justice system. We're trying to get to a justice system.
Our legal system.
There you go, legal.
That's a better word for it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's a mess. I mean, the cops get away with literally everything. Nobody holds them accountable, but I don't know. And then
Well,
just
yeah, and then the Supreme Court just made that easier for them to get away with everything with
Yep.
with saying that they don't have to read your Miranda rights.
right. How crazy is that? Like what? That's
Yeah,
like
spread the word. Okay,
Yeah.
seriously. Number one, a cop is not your friend. Never is your friend. They're not going to do anything nice for you. Number two, if anybody's going to make a deal with you, the cops aren't the people that do that. You make the deal with your lawyer and the DA, the district attorney. The cops have no power to make any sort of deal with you. Keep your mouth shut, lawyer up. Even if it's a public defender, it's still better than just what you know.
Hmm.
because they'll lie. They'll just say, "Hey, we already got you on this stuff. We just want you to admit it."
Mhm.
And then it's like, no, they don't, because if they had it on you, if they already were able to prove it, then they wouldn't need you to say it.
Well, the best one is, we'll make this so much easier on you if you just tell us what happened.
Yeah,
It makes me so angry. It really makes me so angry because that really, like, I'm glad that you and I know that. I mean, if I get arrested, the first thing I'm going to do is say lawyer. That's it. Lawyer, lawyer, lawyer. I'm not going to say anything else. I know I have the right to remain silent, even if you're not going to tell me I do. And lawyer. But some people don't know that. And there are people with limited intelligence. I mean, people who don't really they don't know their rights, or they get intimidated, they get scared, and it's so predatory. And again, it's just the opposite of freedom, like so many other laws that we have. It's just awful. It's heartbreaking, really.
yeah, it really is.
Well, and that's the thing I've talked about before with cops and like the rural, right? So if you go prior to 9/11, if you go into a rural county, they hated the cops, hated them.
Mm.
A raging passion. They hated cops. But then after 9/11, when cops and firefighters just automatically became heroes simply for being a cop or a firefighter,
During a
the
tragedy.
whole shift happened.
Mm.
Hmm.
I
Wow.
didn't even realize that because I'm not from a rural area and I hadn't thought of that. I mean,
Yeah,
I honestly, I was raised a middle class suburban white kid. I just always thought, no, the cops are there to help you. The cops are nice, and they're here to keep you safe. And I've had a
the
much
cop,
different.
yeah.
I've learned a lot since then.
The cops are there to protect white people's property.
That's it. Yeah, just
Right.
All right, Brent.
and the
We're
more
getting
money you got.
we're getting close to an hour.
Oh, okay. Well, hey everybody. Thanks everybody for watching, and thank you so much, Shannon, for coming on. We might have to have you come back because this is
Oh
important
yeah.
stuff. We need to talk
Thank
about
you.
this.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Anybody who's in Florida, particularly Tampa Bay to like Northport area, if you're ever interested, yeah, Brently, if you ever want to come, and if you're, look us up, and we would love to have you at any of our events. Our next protest is July 26th at Manatee County, at the Manatee County Board of Commissioners meeting. We're actually doing a 9 to 9 sit-in, the 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. sit-in. But you don't have to stay for the whole 12 hours. Some people will, but I mean, just even a little bit is good. We're just we're pushing. We're not giving up. So we're gonna be doing a whole lot of stuff this summer and beyond. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
And if anybody wanted to look to find you, do you know where would they go to look for you? So to follow you and
For
stuff.
me or for my organization?
Both.
Okay. On Twitter, I am Nullifidian Mom, and that is really my only public social media account. So anybody can come reach me on Nullifidian Mom. My organization, the name is Women's Voices of Southwest Florida. We are currently only on social media. We don't have like our own website, but you can reach us at Facebook. You can reach us on Twitter. And we also have an Instagram where where you can reach us. So we're pretty easy to find. If you Google us, you'll be able to find us too. There's a lot of news articles about us, and they lead to our social media as well.
So what I'm hearing is if
Awesome.
someone knows how to design web pages and wants to donate some time.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's what.
Please. Yeah, we also are taking donations. I mean, I didn't want to. We do take donations too for. Well, right now we're doing our back to school drive, so we are taking donations for that. Either we have an Amazon wish list, and we also have a GoFundMe for that. And then we also do take donations because all of the work that we do does come out of our own pockets, pretty much. Yeah. Unless we get some donations. And we do take multiple trips to Tallahassee. We've been to DC. We plan to go back to DC again. And we'll be at Tallahassee this year too, because we're going to be fighting a whole lot of legislation. This is going to be a packed legislative year. And then plus just for our protests, we need supplies. We need like megaphones and waters and first aid kits, and we're very organized about that. Safety and keeping the health of our protesters is really, really important to us. So we make sure we always have that. So I can put links to that in the Twitter and the YouTube feeds on that if you guys are interested.
Excellent.
So,
Let's definitely do that. That way they
all
can
right.
just,
well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This was great.
It was nice to talk to you guys.
Oh, yeah.
You too.
All right. Bye.
The Progressive House Podcast.